Hello, hello, lovely people. Welcome to DevRel Show episode 19. It's been, if I feel like it's been forever because it's been about a month since the last episode. I was on vacation. I took 3 weeks off, and I took also vacation of the DevRel Show. Even if I loved it, and for me it's not work. I tried to stay away as much as possible from the computer during those 3 weeks. For those of you that are not new to the DevRel Show, you see my background change a little bit. It's not because I did a painting job, it's because I moved to a new place. So I basically spent my vacation moving, which I forgot how much work it was. I totally underestimated how much things I could do. Like, as you can see behind me, there's like a mess of wires and things that you would never see on my screen before. But I was like, that's just gonna be like that for a while because I had so many other things to do than like put the wire correctly. So now I have that messy background, but I'm in a new place. I decided to go out of the city. I'm in more closer to the nature now, a more quieter spot. I guess, I don't know, I'm getting older. I needed to get out of the city and all the noise and all the uh, bigger pollution. But anyway, enough about my new place. I'm just happy to be back behind the microphone for the DevRel Show. And what makes me happy? First, I love that show. But the second thing, or I should not say thing, the second reason why I'm happy to come back to the DevRel Show is the guest we have today. A friend of mine that we didn't see each other since we're talking before the show, since forever.
Been a while.
Jonathan, how is life?
Life is good, man. I actually also just came back from vacation, so I don't have much to complain about. I'm relaxed. I'm refreshed. I'm ready to talk about, DevRel or whatever else.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I would say like I'm that relaxed because I was moving to a new place. It was a little bit busy, but I still took it easy. I still had time to relax and enjoy a backyard, which is new for me, having a backyard and
That's
trees and
very
stuff
novel.
like that. So yeah, that was still good. Good vacation. Maybe not as relaxing as vacation should be. Again, was a little bit busy with moving stuff, but again, I'm not complaining. At the same time, I love what I'm doing as a job, so it's not painful for me to come back from vacation. With that said, I know you, but I assume. Oh, and actually, you know what? A lot of people knows you, but I assume not
We get around.
everybody know you. So, who are you? Tell me a little more about you.
Honestly, I ask myself that all the time. Still don't have a good answer. Uh, no, I'm John. I am the co-founder of Major League Hacking. Um, we are the largest community of early career developers in the world. So most of my work these days is focused on helping people entering the industry bridge that skills gap from all that weird theory they teach in class to the actual practical stuff they need on the job. But I've been a developer for a long time. I started out doing C on weird text-based games, and ended up doing DevRel at Twilio and some other random startups. And so I love this world. I love developer communities, and I have managed to stay involved with it now for I don't even know, like 15 plus years.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and I want to come back to MLH after because I experienced it. For lack of better word, used the organization to help me achieve some of my goals and do amazing stuff and at previous work. But it's the DevRel show. There is a lot about developer relation. So I know it's been forever. I think it's been about 10 years, but you used to be a developer advocate. Actually, your title was developer evangelist, which was the
Yep.
title we were mostly using at the time. I was mostly evangelist and developer advocate. So you used to be a developer evangelist at Twilio. You stayed there, if I look at your LinkedIn, about
About 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a developer evangelist and or at Twilio?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like my job title hasn't been developer evangelist in a long time, but a lot of the work that I do at MLH looks really similar. Um, it's just not advocating for one particular platform, but more developers at large. So there are some differences. Um, I mean, back at Twilio, like when I joined, there were definitely some developer evangelists who would kind of like set the foundation, right? Like Danielle Morrill and John Sheehan and like John Britton and all of these sort of like canonical people that like did developer evangelism back then. And so I got to learn from some of the best, but like, you know, for me, it was kind of a wild, like creative time. Like back then, we were figuring out a lot of it as we went. You
Mhm.
know, like we had some strategies, we had some ideas of how to reach developers, but we were experimenting a ton. And my favorite thing about the job, my favorite thing about working at Twilio at that time was the amount of new things we got to try on a daily basis that actually like had an impact on our growth as a company. Like we were only 50 people when I joined, and so there was a pretty big opportunity to actually like move the needle through developer advocacy and evangelism.
Yeah, and the thing though is that you were in a good spot to learn because Twilio at that time, where like 10 years ago, like developer relation was not as popular as it is today. I remember when I started just a little bit prior to that, maybe 13 years ago, it was mostly big companies that were doing developer relation, and Twilio was one of the quote unquote smaller
Yep,
companies that would decided to invest in developer, to invest in like really helping developer being successful, but also like that two-way relationship. And
yep,
for a long time, when people were asking like, hey, who do you think about when you think about developer relation, or who has like good practices when it comes to developer relation? Twilio was always the answer.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I think at some point they decided to let like most of the team go, and they kind of like close developer
And the
relation.
CEO, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and now I think they reopened the team, like reopened the team a couple of years ago. And to be honest, I'm not sure how they're doing developer relation wise right now. But just a really long comment to say like they were the
They still have some
star.
really smart people.
They were the star. They were like if you wanted to know how to properly do DevRel, it was a Twilio.
Yeah,
And you said it before, like most of the things or many things you do right now, you don't have the title, but it's still kind of like it's still developer relation. um which is why I was like, when we talk about you being in a show, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, yeah, John feels a little bit like an imposter, like a co-founder, which by the way, I thought your title was like CEO. I thought you were doing kind of like CEO,
I mean, it can be whatever I want it to be.
yeah, yeah, but I was like, yeah, co-founder, and like it's been a while didn't do like officially DevRel, and I was like, you know what, that's not true. Like it's just like you don't have the official title. So I would be curious. So right now in your role as a co-founder, actually, you know what? Even before talking about role, I think we need to understand a little more about MLH for people that do not know Major League Hacker. So what is it?
I mean, we are sort of a distributed community. We work with many, many hundreds of university campuses primarily to help people build their own developer communities. So imagine like your hacker club, your meetups, your hackathons, all of the things that developers do to both like, have social fulfillment and also level up their skills. Um, every year we work with something like 150,000 developers, primarily in person. And, over the last 10 years, we've worked with more than 1 million developers. It's really hit kind of a critical mass of people. And, for a lot of them, like our programs, our events are the first experience they ever have with building their own project outside of a classroom environment. And so when I say that, like, we do developer relations, like, we're like literally teaching people to build. And that's usually tool agnostic. Like I'm not advocating for Twilio anymore. I'm advocating for you have an idea. Let me tell you
Yeah.
how like you can actually accomplish that. And so it's a really kind of interesting abstract problem, right? Like how do we actually enable people to learn, enable people to build, and frankly, like teach them about all of the tools out there from a DevRel perspective that they should know about as they go into the industry.
Yeah, Yeah, no, no, it makes total sense. And I know MLH. I've been to some of your hackathons.
Yeah,
I've judged. I've been a judge at some of the hackathons. I sponsor some of them. As I said, for lack of a better word, I used MLH to help me reach my goal because there's like multiple angles to the opportunities that MLH bring. Like obviously, there's like being a good citizen and like helping MLH because it helps students to like develop skills, as you said, to also just being with the community, like meeting other developers or students that are like learning to become like engineers, become developers. So there's that part that is like just amazing. And those folks, they do quality events. Like you do
we try.
great stuff. You do great stuff. But like on the more business side of things, for developer advocate, you have like tool or framework or SDK that is like something that developers can use, and you want to have more eyeballs. You have to have more people using your SDKs or whatever you are offering to developer. You want to have like quick, real, let's say unfiltered feedback from students or
Very
from like
unfiltered.
people. Yeah, very unfiltered. So be ready, depending on your product, depending on how it goes. You know what? It's they're nice people, and they don't sleep a lot during those times. So maybe it's coming from there. But unfiltered feedback, that is one of the best investment of money I've done. I think I worked with you when I was at Fitbit mostly, and there's like two other companies. I don't even remember, but like I worked with MLH a couple of times, and it was always worth my time and money.
I
Setting
appreciate it.
aside that it's just nice to be at hackathons and like helping students like learn good stuff like business wise. For developer advocates, you're a great, should I call you, service or tool or organization?
Yeah, I mean, like we're a partner, right? Like we want to bring our students the coolest tools,
Better word.
and we need the support from developer platforms to do that. It's interesting because and I appreciate the kind words about working with us because students are not enterprise customers and they're not going to become them in the next 6 months. But what we've found over the last 10 years is that like those people go into the industry and now they know your tool. And something like 40% of our students have introduced something into production in their full time job that they first learned at an MLH hackathon. And so there is that pipeline of adoption. It just takes some time. And, it's worth it to like support students early in their journeys.
Yeah, yeah. This is the thing. I talked like a business person before about like the benefits of MLH, but like there is exactly the like just being a good citizen. I mean, like we all
You got to
been.
support the next generation.
Exactly. We've all been students at some point. There is nobody that were able to have a career without the help of other people, other company, more senior people. And it's like at some point, it's time to give back. And like, I think it's a great way to give back. And there is Lewis. Oh, Lewis has been like forever too.
Hey,
Two of
dude.
my favorite human, Fred and John. Oh, you're so kind, man.
Hola.
Seriously, it's been forever. I really need to find reasons to go to Mexico. It's been forever. Actually, I don't need a reason. Louis, you're my reason. I need to go back. For those of you that don't know me, I used to travel like so much as developer advocate. Like I was speaking like it's around the world, so I made friends everywhere, which was a good benefit. But
The
also
last time
after.
I was in Mexico was for a hackathon, actually.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show. I usually don't talk. Try not to talk too much with guests before the show because I want to like have like a real non-scripted discussion during the show. But because I know Jonathan, it has been forever, I was like, hey, let's talk. But I was telling him like even if my job right now doesn't make that much sense to be at a hackathon because my product right now at QFirst is not. I'm still called like a developer advocate, but I'm more like a cloud native DevOps GitOps advocate. It's
Yep.
not a product. It's a product that developer can use, but it's not a product that like you would, or maybe that you would necessarily see at a hackathon that people can build the product with. Like they can use
Right.
QFirst as a foundation to have a cluster to deploy whatever they're working on. But in a hackathon, you may not want to spend too much time like on the deploying part, more like the building part. So it makes a little less sense for me to professionally go to hackathons. But I miss them dearly. Not the lack of sleep part, because like it was never a
We
good
always
thing for me.
encourage people to sleep.
Yeah, yeah, that like I don't know how those kids are doing. Like even when I was younger, I was never able to do like a full-fledged
Yeah.
hackathons. Like I see those kids like they sleep in a corner for an hour and drink Red Bull and light a country. I know you encourage them to have like a healthy
I mean, I can't
participation.
stay up all night. Like
Ex- yeah, yeah. And I actually am missing seeing like the excitement of like the students, the participant that found their team, that found the people that start to work on stuff, but like what they can achieve in no amount of time. Like we see this as huge, like a full weekend of hackathon, let's say 48 hours or 72 hours or something like that. It seems like it's a lot of coding time, but it's nothing. Like professional developers, you know how much time it takes like just to do like MVP or proof of concept. And those kids, they're so good. Like they do this, like they do amazing stuff in a short amount of time with sometimes people they know already, quite often people that they never met before. And it's just like strangers working together to create something that you're excited about in a small amount of times.
yeah.
Like this is the part that I miss with hackathons. Like when I was
There's
like
an
either
energy there.
going, showing the end, like showing like seeing the full process, but like seeing also the end result.
Yep. Yeah. There's like a really special energy there that I've never seen anywhere else. Where like just being surrounded by hundreds of people who are all building stuff, it's fun, and people are having a good time. And I honestly think that the magic of hackathons is that you're in a dedicated time and space with people who are trying to accomplish something, and it it's like infectious, like you want to build, and so you feel good about everyone next to you building, and you help each other out, and you all get to show off all the cool stuff you came up with.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't know if we talk about that much, what I really love is the lack of like ego
Yeah,
of those folks. I don't know if we were all like that when we were younger and just beginning, but I feel like the developer industry, we all have like huge, especially developer advocates, but that's another story. But like especially developers, like like you don't need to show that you don't know this technology, and you need like everything you do, you need to be good at. And like it's not everybody like that. And maybe I'm being cynical because I've been doing this for a long time. It's like I feel developers usually have big egos, like, oh, you need to be technical, and when you talk about the topic, you need absolutely to be able to answer something. And every hackathons, and not just MLH, like every hackathons that I participate, especially with younger folks or like students,
yep.
they have an issue, they try to fix it, it's
It's a
not
really
working,
supportive environment.
they come to see you, they come to talk to someone else, no shame, they're like, hey, we tried to do that, it's not working, we tried to do that, we don't know how, help me. And they listen to you and they try to solve it, and they're super thankful about that, which I just remember while we were talking about that, like that feeling, I have goosebumps, that's no
Yeah.
kidding. Like that's like that, I don't know what to say, that vibe that you get. Exactly, the word vibe is probably the best.
I
Like
think vibe is the right way to describe it. Like I always think of this like image in my head of like someone standing up in a crowded room and being like, "Hey, does anyone know Arduino?" Right? And like people come over to help them. Like people will give up time on their own project to go help someone else, and that's really like unique. I think you're right. Like it's noticeably different from a lot of the sort of like work culture in tech. Like it really is supportive and collaborative.
yeah, and I don't have the answer, but I think it's maybe because like in a work environment, like you try not to show too much that you don't know something because that's basically your job depending on it.
Yep.
So I can understand that part, but you don't have the same feeling when you're in like a non-work related hackathon. But yeah, I miss that vibe, I miss that feeling. I don't think I'm a good participant in hackathon for different reasons, but I love being an attendee. I love seeing the result. And what's great is that
The immense.
we're going to show Jonathan's actually not we. Jonathan's going to demo some of the cool, nicest projects that you've seen so far this year for
Yeah.
the Deemer part of the show. But before we move to that, we introduce a little more MLH. Again, for people, if you want to learn more about MLH, if you want, as a student, if you want to attend, but as a company, as a developer advocate, if you want to sponsor, either just for the sake of like helping students, or you have some goals and you want, like everything I said before, more high balls. Actually, I'm doing your sales pitch. You tell me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
this
but
is
like,
great, man. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
hearing it.
And also, I assume it's still the case, but like you always need mentors. So even if you don't sponsor, like if you have experience with specific technology or specific things, like you can just apply to be a sponsor or a mentor. They always need those. So and
There's a
it's
lot of ways.
around the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get involved, and it is totally global. Like all over North America, all over Europe and the UK, all over APAC. Like there are a lot of no matter where you live, you can find a hackathon near you, and we'd love to have people. Like I think for students, getting to meet people who actually work in the industry and like hear from them, get positive feedback from them is a big part of the experience because it gives you a confidence boost and it really kind of helps you aspire to a certain path.
Yeah, yeah. I stayed in touch with like some of the students that asked me like, "Hey, can I add you on LinkedIn?" And like I stayed like they're now part of my network, and I'm now part of their network. So it's a great way to connect with like other like-minded people. It's a great way to connect with potential mentor, or you never know, like if a sponsor or a mentor or even other students at some point can be your future manager, or is hiring, or their team is hiring, or their company is hiring. Networking is everything. The contact you're making in tech industry is everything, and hackathon to the skills that you're doing is just like super helpful for that. So today's show is a pitch about MLH because Jonathan is not paying me.
I think
I
the real
just
is what it would be.
I just loved it. I mean, like, when there is great things outside, we need to talk about them, and MLH is one of them. So
It's a lot.
uh, it's true. You know me, I'm not the kind of guy bullshit or say nice thing to please people. On the contrary. So if I say so, it's because I believe it. With that said, we introduce a little more MLH so people know exactly what it is. Now, what the fuck are you doing at MLH? Like co-founder, like are you staying at home and like just like playing games on the computer and like traveling in
Yeah,
Europe and stuff like that? Like I
yeah.
assume
I
it's
just
just
like
that.
just fucking around, like whatever. But no, I I actually spend a lot of my time thinking about two different pieces of what we do. One is how do we build really good partnerships with DevRel teams? So that is relevant to what you're talking about, right? Like, going back to Fitbit, how do we get a bunch of students like building their first app on a Pebble or a Fitbit back then, right? That's a big part of my day is thinking about how we actually like bring people to our community. And the other part of it is like thinking about the company itself and like how do we better serve students? How do we bring
Mm.
them new things to do? How do we evolve what we currently offer? We right now we reach something like a third of all the computer science students in the U.S. But obviously, there's a lot more people out there that could
That's
be
so
engaging.
crazy.
I mean, it's a lot, right? But like, there's more. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how we actually grow to support all of the people out there that want to become builders.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah. I was joking when I said like, yeah, he's doing nothing. I know you're like doing so much. Actually, MLH is about 10 years old now,
Yeah,
10
we
years
had
old.
our 10th anniversary this past year, which is wild.
Oh,
It's
I missed it.
it's a long time.
And
Yeah,
can oh, sorry, go ahead.
what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like I know Swift. Like did you started like MLH, the two of you, were there any other people? Can you tell me a little bit of the story between like, hey, I was a developer evangelist, I was an employee and I decided to create something that you probably expected it would become big, but you still have no idea, and it is the case now. So what's the
Yeah.
story behind like creating MLH?
So I'll tell the real unfiltered version of the story here, but like
I want that.
basically Swift and I were good friends. So I was a developer evangelist at Twilio. He was a developer evangelist at SendGrid. and we were both remote employees in New York for non-New York based companies, and so we were effectively each other's coworkers. We spent a lot of time organizing meetups together, hackathons, traveling around to conferences, and there was like a cohort of other people. Like there was a handful of companies at that time that we spent a lot of time with, but Swift and I were just good friends, worked together a lot, eventually became roommates, and we had talked at different points about like starting a company together, but we didn't really have like a concrete idea. We just had the general idea that we wanted to work together more. And what ended up happening was, we both kind of came out of the hacker community and were really involved with like a lot of student developer groups and events. And, Swift was in the process of selling his previous startup and kind of quit his job at SendGrid to focus on that and transition out. And he needed something to do. And, someone that was a mutual friend of ours pitched him on, trying to kind of like connect all the different student hackathons that were coming together. And so that's what he did. Like basically we would travel around. I still had an expense account at Twilio. So he would sleep on my couch in my hotel room. I would be advocating Twilio. He would be, talking about this like sort of nascent idea of MLH. And after, 6 months of doing that, I finally quit my job and joined him full time. And it all kind of accelerated from there. Like we went from 4 or 5 campuses we were working with to 40 to 100 to 200, and it grew really, really rapidly. But it was all kind of driven by like this energy that we felt from the student developer scene, and both of our desire to be more involved with like helping people learn and start their careers.
That's amazing. Thanks. Thanks for sharing the story. And Lewis, actually, I was thinking of sponsor Cube First, which is my employer. So if
Thanks.
you are, yeah, if you are wanted or are in cloud native or wanted to move in cloud native, and you're like, hey, there's a lot of things with Kubernetes, and you want like a full-fledged production-ready cluster with GitOps principle behind it, with a GitOps repository that have like all the tools we think you need to be successful in being production ready, give a try to Cube First. It's open source. It's free. We're going to come with the pro plans at some point, but everything you see right now, it's free and is open source. And we have a question from who's that guy? Lewis Sanchez. So Lewis, John, with all that's a good question, John. With all the changes happening across the industry, is it becoming more challenging to engage companies in investing in students? Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes and no. I think that a lot of DevRel teams have been aggressively refocused on profit centers for their companies. And I think in a lot of cases, that is actually really short-sighted from the management level. And I believe pretty strongly that failing to invest in a grassroots developer strategy will have serious negative repercussions in the long term. And I think students are part of that. So it is becoming more challenging. I think that's misguided. The light at the end of the tunnel is that like students aren't going anywhere, and developer platforms aren't going anywhere. And there are just as many developer platforms coming out right now who actually care about grassroots developer strategies as there are companies who have scrapped that and focused entirely on enterprise. And I believe that in the long term, the companies that are investing in developer communities and grassroots strategies will win out against the companies that have only focused on sales.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to add on that, I touched base a little bit after that before, but like usually when people think about hackathons, they think about like the short or the quick return on investment, about like, hey, yeah, I want more people to use my product now. Let's be honest, like after the hackathon, like most people won't like go back Monday to maybe like internship or whatever. They're students, like they won't go back and like use your product right away. But like as you said, like in the future, or when they start their first job, or when they do an internship, like they will know your product, they will know your technology, and if they had a good experience, like it's a possibility for them that they may start to use it. But on top of that, like you get benefit rights away in the hackathon, like you get the feedback, the unfiltered feedback, which is not always easy to get from professional developers face to face. So they give it to you, and you can really see how your product holds up live and where's the issue. Because like the kids, they will do what we all should do and read the docs first, and they will go check the docs and they will try to fix the issue themselves. But like if they're not able to do, there's a way for you to get the feedback. There's a way for you to learn about the fact that like, hey, your docs may not be as good as it is, or your product has like issues that you don't see with other people because they're coming with a fresh perspective about
Yep.
things. They don't have that much experience with past technology or their technology, so they will probably use your product or your services or your SDK in a way that you didn't thought about, and it would
Yep.
probably fail because you didn't thought about those things. So all those things, they're concrete return on investment that you get right away, not even thinking about the next thing. So I
And,
always felt that hackathons brought a lot of values.
and I would add to that that like people build really cool, interesting things, and I think one of the things that a lot of DevRel teams forget about is that the developers they're serving want to enjoy their work and have fun. And for many of them, coding is as much a hobby as it is their job. And I actually think there's like a really interesting strategy of using creative community ideas from things like hackathons to kind of like get the creative juices flowing for your actual customers. And I used to do this when I was at Twilio. Like I wrote a lot of blog post tutorials. Some of the most popular blog post tutorials I wrote were not like, here's how you solve enterprise problem using
Yeah,
Twilio. It was like, here's how you build a robot that you control with Twilio. No one's ever going to really do that, right? Like, that's not a real business problem. At least I don't think it is. But it was fun, and developers engaged with it, and they're like, wow, this is really cool. I like robots. I play with Arduino. What's this Twilio thing? And I think that like you need a little bit of that fun injected into your actual like corporate strategy because developers want to have fun.
I totally agree. I mean, like that just remembered me when we worked with you when I was at Fitbit. A couple of things happened. So once um, at Fitbit, like we were having like that, that smartwatches, and it's always like a marketplace game with those things. So we wanted to have like more nicest application, useful or not, but like having like interesting things for people to install on their watch. And some of them were able to having like nearly a polished smartwatch application at the end of the hackathon.
Yeah,
So some of them were able to publish right away at the end of the weekend. Some of those teams were like, hey, they're going to spend like 2-3 more weeks like working after the hackathon, because for some of them it does not end that. Like the one that are really passionate about like what they started to build during the hackathon, if they're not done, some of them will continue to work on those after that, and they still publish in the marketplace. And I remember for the really like amazing, exciting idea, we contracted some of them, and they're like, hey, you know what, we're gonna pay like an amount of money and finish that project, deploy it, and we're going to help you write a blog post about it. So there's going to like, first it's going to be nice for you, you're going to have your picture on the blog, whatever, but you're going to get money for it, and you're going to tell us about your experience using your SDK, and we're going to showcase your application. Like there is a lot of things you can do. So again, big fan of hackathons.
yeah,
I know I'm talking about MLH, but like it's hackathon in general. I
yeah.
just feel like MLH, you're doing a
It's the
great job
culture.
because you do this at scale and everywhere. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits for people to think about hackathons. I know it's a little bit harder now with budget and stuff being slashed like everywhere in the recent 2-3 years. But I still feel like if you want to have like a good return on investment on the short, medium, and long term, I think it's good. And as we said before, I always try to focus on the business side of things because like I need to tell people that like, hey, you pay me the big bucks, you're going to get some returns. But just being a good citizen, just giving back, just helping the new generation, being great developers, knowing about stuff, and just being like, as I said, like a good developer, because we're part of a community, and
Yep.
they are already part of that community, and there will be even a bigger part of that community when they're going to finish their study and start working in a professional setup. So yeah, just do the right thing.
Yeah,
So
100%. I think it's really important to stay engaged with the community.
yeah. So really good question, Lewis. On that note, We could talk probably a lot longer, but
We can keep going forever.
I think it's demo time. I think it's time to see some of those projects. So, John, the mic is yours. I'm going to try
Okay.
to shut up during that time. I may ask question, but
Yeah, we could talk about some of them because they're fun. But I'm going to show off a couple of projects that I've seen recently at our hackathons that I thought were like particularly fun or interesting or novel, and they're all pretty different. So we'll dive right in. Some of these are on video. Some of them are like live demos that we can actually play with here. I will start off with the first one here, which is a project called Kepler.
there we
Call
go.
Enter your Git multiverse. So we're gonna play this, and then we'll chat about it a little bit. But this is kind of a fun one.
Nice.
Okay, so epic music aside, what's going on here is that this group of students built a like augmented reality app, right? Where you can literally look at your Git timeline in 3D space. Why would you want to do that? I have no idea, but it looks really freaking cool.
It
So
is.
yeah, right? Like it's kind of wild. The thing I love about this video, I'll mute it in case we want to play it again here and talk, but like you can see like the commit messages popping up as you go here. So like, oh wow, they're like moving backwards and there's like commits coming at them. There was a branch there that we just saw. Um, it's such a weird avant-garde concept to me, and even like the visuals of it look a little bit like trippy in some ways. It kind of reminds me of like I don't know what the age demographic of people watching is, but like thinking back to like Winamp visualizations when you're like listening to music or something.
Oh
Except this
God.
is actually your Git code base, and they have code in here. You can see your code. I just love this kind of thing. Like I truly love somewhat pointless but like really weird and interesting projects. Um, and this one actually was on the Apple Vision Pro. So there's a video here. I'll pull it up of one of the team members demoing it. Let's see if I can get that here. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why I got that notification from Imager, but let me see if I can open this in a new tab and share that instead.
And as you
Here.
said, that is one of the project that you may be like, hey, why do I need that?
Right.
It's a fun thing, but like it's just one example of like what you can do.
Yeah, so you can see one of the teammates here demoing it and like what they're seeing. So she's like pinching and zooming on like different Git branches. Like it's just really fun and interesting. Like
It is.
So okay, here's the crazy stuff about this. The people who built it had never built an AR app before. This was their first project ever doing something in 3D space. Uh, they were using a lot of different APIs for the first time. So there's some kind of NFT component to this. They used Reality Kit. They used like Figma to design a lot of the interfaces. Like when they were talking about this and demoing it at the event, this was their first time using a lot of those technologies. And it's a good reminder for me of like how quickly someone can go from like, I don't know anything about this to
Yeah.
I have a really compelling demo. But I don't know, like I think that there's like a certain level of creativity that comes with hackathons where you would never see this kind of project anywhere else. I have no idea if it will ever deliver business value to someone, but it should exist because there's a part of
Yep.
hacking that's like art, right? And this is like a really cool interactive art project.
Yeah. And during that time, they got some experience about building AR application. They learn about new API and USDK, whatever they needed to do that. And
Yeah,
what you said about Figma also led me to that like in those hackathons, it's not only developers. Like I've been to hackathons where we had like people that were designers or people that were like not really technical, but they were still like they still had a way for them to help the team. And actually that was really useful, because one of the things most developers are bad at is like design and UI.
Yeah.
Like we can do functional things, but like most of us, and not everyone, but I can say myself at least,
I'm
I'm
not a
bad
good
at like,
designer.
I am bad. So having someone who has an expertise can really help, because like the judging part at the end, like even if you get some criteria, sometimes I don't remember MLH, but like some hackathons, like the judge get
Yeah.
criteria. It's a really like subjective. Like it's really like how what do you feel about that? Like someone can see what you've shown and say like that's not interesting. That's not a winning application because it's not super useful. And someone like me could be like, holy shit, like I'm not going to use that tomorrow, but oh my god, because I don't want to look at my Git history like that. That's like I'm just going to go in the terminal. But wow,
Yeah.
like that's amazing. That's an original, creative way to do that.
Exactly.
So, long story to say, like usually having beautiful UI or great design on top of the functionality, it kind of like helps you to get a little more points. Like I know I've had some bias to more polished project when I was judging hackathons.
Yeah.
So
And I think like part of the premise here, and like, I don't know how effective it is at that, was like they wanted to teach people how Git worked in like a more interactive way, right? And like that's cool. Like that's a cool premise to come in with. And I think that when you walk around a hackathon and you see all of the demos, like there's a range of things. Some people are demoing the first website they've ever built, and it's like really bare bones, but like it's an accomplishment for them. Some people are demoing something that's like really polished and well thought out. And sometimes you get stuff in the middle where it's like, this is really cool and like just weird and like fun that you even thought of this. So I actually think that's a kind of a good segue to the next project here, because this one is also like kind of avant-garde, I think, in a fun way. So let me pull it up and we'll talk about our next project here.
awesome. And during that time, you just made me thought about the infamous Winamp slogan. It really
It really
whips the
whipped a lot
lemons
of
ass. That was such a good like MP3 player. It was amazing.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's still there. It's still working. The only problem, like I wanted the other day, someone else also brought Winamp in discussion, and it was like, I missed it. Like I really miss it. So I was still able to use it, but it's just because like now I'm just streaming my music on Spotify and everything. I don't really have like that much like MP3s that I can play stuff like that. But maybe I should give it another try just to see how it goes. Anyway, let's move to the second demo. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so this is called Robotany, like robot-any. Okay, so what's going on there? This is kind of a funny one too. Someone built a chatbot to talk to your plants. I have a lot of plants. Most of them are dead. The idea is that you can literally like talk to a chat GPT type interface and be like, hey, like, how's my plant doing? Like, does it need water? Does it need sun? And they would use different like sensors, pipe that into an LLM, and then actually return data and have actions that it can complete to interact with your plant using a chatbot. I think that's pretty funny and interesting. Like, I love hardware hacks in general. Obviously, AI hacks are really popular right now. This is just kind of a cool, clever mashup where it's like, yeah, like everyone struggles to keep their plants alive. Why not make that easier with technology? And yeah, like I love. I don't know. I
I
thought it was
like
a
that.
video.
I would use it too. I don't have any plants anymore in my place because I was just keep like killing them, and I was like, okay, what's the point? I would definitely need something like that.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. Like they used a surprising array of technologies to accomplish this. Like obviously there's an Arduino there. It has some sensors. has like a moisture sensor, stuff like that. They 3D printed the flower pot to just play around with 3D printing, so that's cool.
Oh,
Kind of
nice.
unnecessary, but like a fun thing to learn. They pipe it into CockroachDB, so they're like storing all of the data in CockroachDB because they wanted to try that out. They have a couple of different like AI models they're using. So they use BentoML and Cohere to sort of like tag the data that's coming in and decide what to do with it. So it's like a surprisingly complex application for what like looks really simple in the
Yeah,
demo. Um, they hadn't really used LLMs before building this. I think they had some experience doing hardware and some experience doing 3D printing, but they were like intentionally trying a lot of new stuff at once. And they had like I think they said a dozen technologies, right? So like their goal was they wanted to learn something new and they wanted to make something fun and interesting. And I think they accomplished that, right? Like this is a
I
really
think
cool
so.
matchup. And for me, it's like I like the idea of really sort of like indirect solutions to really simple problems, right? Like I want to water my plants better. Great. Like let's write an LLM that knows how to do that. That's really cool. Like that's unique. That's like a creative approach to this. And I could totally see a world where there's a consumer product that you like plug into your plant to see how it's doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And the thing with hackathons too, like there's different type of attendees. Like there's the one that goes there to win, and they're
Yep.
like they're gonna use the technology they know. They come with their ideas, and there are people, which I assume is the case for them, that were like they just wanted to. Not that the people that go there to win doesn't have fun, but like for them it was like they wanted to have fun. They wanted to learn stuff,
Yep.
and it's always amazed me the range of like ideas. As you said, like there's like the really creative one, there's the useful one, like they had an issue, they thought about a problem and they thought about fixing it, and there was like the weird crazy one, which was like, how did you come up with that idea? But I like that. It means that at some point someone in the group was like, I kill all my plans, we should do something about that, and people were like, fuck yeah, let's do that.
That is exactly right. And like in my experience, these types of projects that are like weird and creative win a lot more than the projects that were designed to win.
Oh yeah. Yeah, which I mean, I say, oh yeah, but like after I said that, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite projects, and actually, I might pull this up because it was such a weird one. Um, this is maybe from 8 years ago. Someone made a portable shower because they were. This is like kind of funny, but like they were traveling around to all of these hackathons, and they were like, I'm always sleeping in like like my friends' couches, like whatever. How do I like shower at a hackathon? And they built a shower that they could use in a sink at a hackathon. Let me see if I can find that one because you just made me think
Uh-huh.
of it, and it was such a weird project back then that was like not even entirely technical, but really creative and fun, and like solved a really specific esoteric problem that like one person had.
I like those. I remember the project, and I'm not sure if it was at MLH or LA Hack, which is also a big hackathon, but like
Yeah,
only in
that's one of
LA.
our after events.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh, I didn't know. So they did something like to cook eggs. So you had like a choices of ingredients, and like you choose them like on a laptop. Like you decided like I want, I don't know, some paper, and I want some green onions, and I want some like, I don't know, red pepper, whatever. And they had like the full egg that was like they were cracking the eggs. Obviously, the omelet has like a lot of like small egg shells in it. Like you were not really able to eat it. But I was like, that takes some creativity. Like they built something with some like hardware to cook eggs in
Yeah,
a secure way. And to be honest, I don't think they would have need like a lot of times to like just like finish the project and really make it like usable, because as I said, like the eggs at the end was like full of like little eggshells, part of stuff like that, but like really details that like if they spent just a little more time, they would have been able to make it like a quote unquote real product. And I was like, why did you come up with that? And if I remember well, I think the guy was like, I like breakfast. And I was like, I'm lazy. That was like
Yeah,
was the way to
exactly.
be. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Here's a photo of the portable shower. I won't play the whole video because it's kind of long, but like, it's basically exactly what you would think. Like, you plug it into a sink and then you take a shower in a bathroom, and like, like whatever, like varying levels of utility there, but kind of a clever idea.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very useful for hackathon though.
Oh, incredibly useful. Um, Awesome. Well, I have one or two more demos here.
Please go
This
ahead.
one is also pretty weird, and I'm really like leaning into like the avant-garde hacks. I didn't pick anything remotely practical, but that's okay. So this one is called Query Cap. It's a long video, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. But basically, they built a headset that you wear that you can ask about your environment. So let's take a look at that.
Sends it back and plays it on the speaker for you to hear.
Now my blind friend needs to know what this object is.
Describe what this is in front of me.
You may never know.
A can of Red Bull.
Oh, it works perfectly. It works perfectly. Query Cap has.
So I love the voiceover on the lag there, waiting for the server
You
response.
may never know.
But like basically, they built a helmet that you wear that runs off of a Raspberry Pi and uses image recognition to like identify objects in front of you. So obviously, they have a comically large Red Bull can here, but like that's kind of a cool concept. Like the idea that you can actually like walk around, point at something in your environment, and identify it using the help of a computer. Like I think when a lot of us think about AI, when we think about like the utility of a lot of these platforms, this is what I'm envisioning, right? Like I'm envisioning something that assists me in my day-to-day life, not something that like just makes my job like easier or whatever, but like I want something that's like utilitarian that can actually help me solve problems in my life. And I think this is kind of a cool application of it. And they use like totally off the shelf parts, right? They have a webcam, they have a bike helmet, they have a Raspberry Pi on the back of it. And that's kind of a simple way to go about this.
And I like that because I agree with you. Like I'm not really excited about most of the things we do with AI right now. Actually, I'm mostly annoyed because all my product now have like AI feature that I don't care most of the
Yeah,
time.
for no reason.
Yeah, I want a Jarvis. Like I want like something that's going to be useful. And I'm thinking about that. And like this said at the beginning of the part of the video you shown, like my what's the wording? My blind friend
Right.
is not seeing what's in front. And I assume someone would be like, okay, that's a big object branding with Red Bull, maybe think it's a fridge, whatever. And it's like a hackathon version. Like I assume like a full product, but like I could see some people with like that are vision impaired that use something like that, which is just like, hey, is there something in front of me or what's happening in front of me or like what it is? I don't know what that is by like touching it. Like that could be something useful. Like that was a fun project for them, but like that could definitely be like a real project, something useful for
100%.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting things about the technical implementation of this is they're students, right? So they didn't have a budget. So they actually couldn't afford to use some of the more complex image recognition models. And so they had to find like a really bare bones simple one. The one they ended up using was called Blip 2, but it's like specifically an image recognition model that's designed for like, kind of like low GPU, type of systems.
Okay.
And so they're not even using like the top of the line, like whatever, like model. They're using a really simple, like kind of embedded system to analyze these, which is a clever workaround.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Like they didn't have like a Vision Pro or stuff like they went with like a basic webcam and like what? It took a little bit of time to and then that was a weird object too, but like it took a little bit of time, but like they got the answer.
They did. And I'm sure if you ever roll this out in production, you'd use something more powerful, but like constraints force creativity, right? And hackathons are all about constraints.
I like that. That's one of the things, if I remember too, because like we've seen like Vision Pro and Raspberry Pi. Like you also have like hardwares at some of the hackathons. I don't remember. You can tell us. I don't remember if it's based on the sponsor. Like if you have like cases that has MLH you bring to those hackathons.
Yeah, we do. So we actually loan out we have a partnership with DigiKey, who's like a big parts provider, and so we have microcontrollers, sensors, wires, resistors, like all the things you need to build a hardware hack. And it's really popular because like if you've never done a hardware project before, you're not going to invest in that before going to a hackathon, right? So being able to loan it out, really enables people to try that for the first time. I know we have a couple minutes left. I have one last project, and I really want to show it off because you talked about design earlier. This is like one of the prettiest projects I've seen in a while. To me, I think it's like really, really well done. So this is a project from a hackathon called SBU Hacks, which is at my alma mater, Stony Brook University. And the premise is that it's a game to teach people how to identify phishing emails, right? So it's like a cybersecurity game. But I love the aesthetic of it. So we click on enter here. It zooms into the little screen, explains the game here. I can kind of pick, let's do 10 rounds of this game. So now we have an email from the guy. Time to work. Great. I'm going to approve that email. Okay, great. Click here for a free iPhone 5. Probably phishing.
But what if you get a free iPhone?
I don't know, man. I don't think Jojo CUI would give me a free iPhone here. So let's delete that one. This one says, we noticed unusual activity. Please click the link to verify from the security team. That seems legit, right?
That seems legit.
I don't know. What do you think? It says unverified. Maybe I'll delete that one. Great. Update your payment information at Netflix.
And it's Joe that sent it to you, so it seems good.
Whoop, that was wrong. We got fixed. What about this one?
See if it was updated as like last year.
I think that's spam. A TXT file telling me how to claim a prize. Probably spam. What about this one?
What's my exclusive offer? So beginning expert check. Oh, it's PDF encrypted.
So it says it's encrypted from Macy's.com. I think that's legit.
Yeah.
Oh, you absolute failure. Wow. Look at that. I did not categorize these very well, but I love the concept, right? Like
I told you, the iPhone was a real one. I was joking,
I didn't think the iPhone was a real one, but I think that's wrong. But I mean, like, this is a beautiful.
I like that.
Design. It's a really clever way to teach people about a concept that's kind of hard to understand, and I think it's just implemented really well. Like, it's a game. The hackathon took place a year ago. I can still play the game. Like, that's cool. Like, they built this in a weekend, and I can still mess with it now.
Yeah, and the UI is great too, as you said. Like, I really like the graphics, and like it's get like that whole vintage vibe. And having of companies, like medium, large company, they have like those employee how do you call that? Like, not tests, but like you have to do like the security training and shit like that. Yep. And God, like those about phishing and security, like they give you proper information, but they're boring and really not interesting to. So this would be nicer.
Yeah, I just like love the interface. Like, it's just for me, I love the retro vibe. But I do agree with you that like in a real world scenario, something like this may be way more effective than sitting through like an hour-long explanation of what phishing is.
Yeah, no, totally. So again, I tend to try to see values in everything, and if it's not just for fun, like there's still like a value in what I've just seen. So I really appreciate you taking the time to show the works of other people, but still taking the time to show them. That was amazing. And this is just like a small subset of what you see in hackathons. So folks, I invite you to either participate in hackathons or like sponsor or be mentor or whatever makes sense for you to be there. I think it's worth it. Even just as like an observer of what is happening. It's just amazing to see the vibe, the excitement, and what people can build. I mean, like, absolutely, there's not just nice projects. Let's be honest. There's some projects that are not.
There's some legit like business projects too, but
yeah. And there's some projects that are not like, people struggle a little bit, but like in every hackathons. But I would say a big chunk of them are really amazing. And sometimes, I mean, I've been in tech for 20 something years, and sometimes I look at those projects and I'm like, I don't even know if I would have been able to do that. Some of those folks are so brilliant. So thanks for showing us that. before I let you go, I want you to talk about a conference you're organizing that
Yeah.
is really interesting for developer advocate.
Yeah, so coming up in a couple of weeks is DevRelCon. It's July 17th, 18th, 19th in New York City, down in Brooklyn. DevRelCon has been around for about 7 or 8 years and was created by these friendly folks over at Hoopy in the UK. We are helping them bring it back to the US after a bit of a hiatus. It's really the premier gathering for folks who work in DevRel. I think we were talking about this earlier, but like DevRel people are constantly speaking at conferences and staffing a booth and like doing the sort of I don't know, like talking to their customer side of it. And DevRelCon is like a unique opportunity to actually hone your own craft. Like talk to your peers in the industry, learn from what other companies are doing, figure out strategies that you can actually bring back to work, and do it in an environment that's like actually fun and chill and like not as exhausting as staffing a normal conference is, right? So it's a really cool opportunity, and it's one of my favorite events of the year. Um, I've been speaking at it. I've been sponsoring it. I've been, helping with it for a really, really long time. And, I'm really proud that we're getting to help organize it this year. And I'm really, really excited to see everyone in just a few weeks.
Yeah, and trust me, I'm gonna be there first. So really excited, I'm gonna be there. Trust me, it may feel weird at first not speaking. Like I'm gonna annoy myself for a while about that. I missed the CFP. Had so many ideas, and at some point, like that happened once in a while. I was like,
Next year.
"Oops, missed the CFP." But so I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna go. I'm not speaking." And Jonathan was like, "Are you coming?" And I was like, "Yeah." What the what? Like I should go. It's not because but I'm so not used to not speak at events when we were doing. Like I think the last time I attended an event, like as an attendee, was like I don't know, 10 years ago or something. Like every other events I've done, and have done a lot of those in the last 10 years, I was either speaking or sponsoring or mentoring or like
Yep.
working basically. So now, yes, I'm going to work because like it's going to be beneficial for me. Like I'm going to learn stuff that's going to help me on a professional side and network with my peers and get to meet friends that I didn't see since forever, like Jonathan, but also meet folks that I've never met in person that were connected on social media since forever. And on top of that, meet new people. So yeah, that's going to be a way for me to sit down and listen to other people, things that I don't do enough because I do the talking most of the time. So as I said, it may feel a little bit weird at the beginning if you don't attend conferences anymore. But yeah, I'm excited about this one, and I'm just happy. I was telling Jonathan before. I've been meaning to go to that conference since it's a thing, and I was in a place before where I could go to like the Japan one or the UK one or like the different, no matter the countries. I was like financially and professionally able to go, but I always had another engagement at the same time. And I was like, this is the first time now I'm free. Because it's like it's in July, it's easier for me. I'm free. I don't have any other events, any other conference. And it's in New York. It's like it's next to Montreal and
It's not that
Canada. Yeah, it's next. It's one of the closest place I can go in the U.S. That makes sense. So anyway, long story short, to say there's still tickets left. Don't miss that event. I've seen the list of speakers. I've learned from people that's going to attend there too. There is like a bunch of nice, friendly, amazing people that are going to be there. So great content, great people, great city, great organizer. Like you don't want to miss that. So see you in New York in about 3 weeks now.
Yeah, like
Ish.
3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
We got the countdown going.
Yeah, I know you are. Like I didn't organize events for a couple of years now, but I know how it is. And 3 weeks, it seems long. It's really short. So
It's coming right up. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, thanks, Jonathan, for being a guest. Do you have any one last thing you want to share with folks?
I mean, thank you for having me, and I would love to see folks listening at DevRelCon. And if you are interested in building your grassroots developer outreach program, please partner with MLH. Our students would love to try your technology, and those students go on to be buyers in the industry. So it's fantastic. Email me at john@mlh.io.
Wonderful. So thanks for being a guest. see you in 3 weeks. And thanks everybody who joined live. Hi, Lewis. Special hi to Lewis. And thanks for everybody who's going to watch the recording. If you have any questions about MLH, ask them on YouTube. John give you your email, his email. I share his Twitter. You have plenty of ways to ask your questions. And on that note, happy to be back on the show after a small hiatus, a small break. And see you everyone in 2 weeks for next episode of the DevRel Show.
Happy hacking.
Rest of the day, everyone.